Section 95 of The Toilers of the Sea, by Victor Hugo. This recording is in the public domain, read by John Greenman. Chapter 4. For Your Wife When You Marry. On leaving the church they saw the Cashmere beginning to make ready to sail. "You are in time," said Gilliatt. They again took the path to the Havlet. They walked in front. Gilliatt now followed behind. They were two somnambulists. They had, so to speak, only changed their bewilderment. They knew neither where they were nor what they were doing. They made haste mechanically. They no longer remembered the existence of anything. They felt each other. They could not put two ideas together. In ecstasy one no more thinks than one swims in a torrent. From the midst of the darkness they had fallen into a Niagara of joy. One might say that they were undergoing the process of introduction to paradise. They did not speak to each other. They were saying too many things with their souls. Déruchette pressed Ebenezer's arm closely to her. Gilliatt's steps behind them occasionally reminded them that he was there. They were profoundly moved, but they said not a word. Excessive emotion resolves itself into stupor. Theirs was delicious, but overwhelming. They were married. They were postponing all other thoughts. They would see each other again. What Gilliatt had done was well, that was all. The depths of these two hearts thanked him ardently and vaguely. Déruchette said to herself that there was something for her to unravel in this matter later on. In the meanwhile they accepted. They felt themselves at the discretion of this decided and abrupt man who had made their happiness with authority. It was impossible to question him, to talk with him. Too many impressions rushed upon them at once. Their absorption is pardonable. Facts are sometimes like a hail. They riddle you. They stun. The abruptness of incidents falling into existences habitually calm very speedily renders existences unintelligible to those who suffer or profit from them. One is not acquainted with one's own adventure. One is crushed without guessing it. One is crowned without understanding it. Déruchette, in particular, for several hours, had been subjected to all commotions. First she had been dazzled by Ebenezer in the garden. Then came nightmare, that monster declared her husband. Then desolation, the angel spreading his wings and on the point of departing. Now it was joy, an unheard of joy, with an indecipherable background, the monster giving the angel to her, Déruchette. Marriage springing from agony. That Gilliatt, the catastrophe of yesterday, the salvation of today. She could understand nothing. It was evident that since early morning Gilliatt's only occupation had been to get them married. He had done everything. He had answered for Mess-Letterie, seen the dean, obtained the license, signed the necessary declaration. This was how it had been possible for the marriage to take place. But Déruchette did not understand it. Moreover, had she understood the how, she would not have understood the why. All there was to be done was to close her eyes, return thanks mentally, forget earth and life, allow herself to be carried to heaven by this good demon. An explanation was too long, thanks were too little. She held her peace in the sweet intoxication of happiness. A little, though, remained in them, sufficient. There are parts of the sponge which remain white under water. They possessed exactly the quantity of lucidity which was requisite for distinguishing the sea from the land and the Cashmere from any other vessel. In a few minutes they had reached the Havlet. Ebenezer was the first to enter the boat. At the moment when Déruchette was about to follow him she experienced the sensation of having her sleeve plucked gently. It was Gilliatt, who had placed his finger on a fold of her dress. "Madame," he said, "you were not expecting to depart. I thought that you would, perhaps, need dresses and linen. On board the Cashmere you will find a trunk which contains articles of clothing for a lady. This trunk came to me from my mother. It was intended for the woman whom I should marry. Permit me to offer it to you." Déruchette half awoke from her dream. She turned towards Gilliatt. Gilliatt, in a low voice, which was scarcely audible, continued: "Now, I do not wish to detain you, but you see, madame, I think that I must explain to you. On the day when that misfortune occurred, you were sitting in the parlor. You said some words. You do not remember it. It is quite natural. One is not obliged to remember all the words which one utters. Mais la Thierry was greatly grieved. 'Tis certain that it was a good boat, which had rendered good service. The misfortune of the sea had happened. There was a great commotion in the countryside. These are things which one forgets, naturally. That was not the only vessel which has been lost on the rocks. One cannot think forever of an accident. Only what I wanted to say to you was this, that when they said no one will go, I went. They said it was impossible. It was not that which was impossible. I thank you for listening to me for a brief moment. You understand, madame, that if I went there it was not for the sake of offending you. Moreover, the matter is of very ancient date. I know that you are in haste. If one had the time, one would remember, but it would serve no purpose. The story goes back to one day when there was snow, and then, once when I was passing, I thought that you smiled. That is the way it is to be explained. As to last night, I had not time to go home. I had just come from my work. I was all ragged. I frightened you. You felt ill. I was wrong. That is not the way to make one's appearance before people. I pray you not to be angry with me for it. This is nearly all that I wish to say. You are about to take your departure. You will have fine weather. The wind is from the east. Farewell, madame. You think it natural, do you not, that I should say little? This is the last minute." "I am thinking of that trunk," said Déruchette. "But why not keep it for your wife when you marry?" "Madame," said Gilliatt, "I shall probably never marry." "That will be a pity, for you are good. Thank you." And Déruchette smiled. Gilliatt returned her smile. Then he helped Déruchette to enter the boat. Less than a quarter of an hour afterwards the boat containing Ebenezer Déruchette boarded the Cashmere in the roads. End of Chapter 4. For Your Wife When You Marry.